Jails and correctional facilities see a lot of misery and anger, two emotions often attributed to severe hauntings. The Old City Jail in Darlington County, now used to house the archives and artifacts for the Darlington County Historical Commission, boasts exactly that, lots of severe hauntings. With the creepy happenings, eerie noises, and objects being moved around inside the museum, many would say that some of these inmates and guards never left. Follow along as we interview historian and director for the Darlington County Historical Commission, Brian Gandy, and he tells us the tales of the Old City Jail in Darlington. The Darlington County Historical Commission was created by the Act of Legislature on June 18, 1965, to procure the historic records relating to the county, to have care and custody of the archives of the county, and to mark historical sites. The Commission's holdings of historical material had grown to such an extent by 1984 that its quarters were placed in the old county jail building, renovated for its use. The building is located in downtown Darlington, just off the Courthouse Square at 204 Hewitt Street. The Commission's holdings are limited to the Darlington County-related materials only and include official county and municipal records, church and school records and histories, the businesses and industrial records, records of clubs and societies, compiled land records, correspondence maps and plats, family records, correspondence journals, diaries, etc., photographs and newspapers. The Commission solicits the donation of historical material relating to Darlington County. Such gifts and donations are tax deductible.
Evening, Facebook friends and library friends. It's me, Miss Drew, and Michelle out here at the Darlington County Historical Commission with Brian Gandy. He is the director and historian out here. And he is going to tell us about some of the legends and myths around Darlington County, and specifically ones that have to do with this building. And the building we're in is actually the Historical Commission building, and he's going to tell us all about it. So, if you guys enjoy.
Hello, welcome to the Historical Commission. I'm Brian, I'm the county historian, and today we're going to talk a little bit about the Historical Commission and about a resident ghost that we have that resides here in the building. This used to be the county jail. It was created in 1937, and when they built the jail, it was built and billed as the most state-of-the-art jail facility in the entire Southeast. They used New Deal money for it, and when they built it, most of upper floors are ship steel construction, so it's sort of built just like the Titanic. But fortunately for us, our building hadn't sunk. So we're quite happy about that, and it's a wonderfully secure place for our county archives. But with that history, there's that whole jail history and all of the history that relates back to the inmates and people that resided here in this building. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a few moments. We are the County Archive. We were created by Act of the South Carolina State Legislature in 1965, the third such organization created in the state. A lot of counties are not as fortunate as we are, and a lot of those counties turned their records over to the South Carolina State Archives, where we did not. In our building, we have over 1 mile of flat stock documents that relate to the people, places, and events of Darlington County history. So literally, if you stood our file folders up at the door of the courthouse, that line would go all the way to Subway on Pearl Street. So a massive amount of collection relating to our people, places, and events. That counts none of our governmental records, old court records. It counts none of our newspapers, which we can put our hands on a hard copy newspaper from 1848 all the way up to the News and Press I got Wednesday.
Wow.
So a massive collection there as well. And then not counting any of the 11,948 files we've got on family names that correlate and relate back to people that came into the county as early as 1736 or left the county as late as 2020 last week. So those files grow in perpetuity, and we have a lot of folks from literally all over the world who come in and do research in those files. And it is in those files that we were able to find a lot of information that related to our resident ghost here at the Commission by the name of Joseph Grabel. And we'll kind of move in the building and talk about him in just a second.
All right, we'll be right back with you guys in just a minute as we find out about Joseph Grabel.
Okay. We're standing here with the 1950 jail book, which was under Sheriff W.E. Bryant, and it's the official record of all of the inmates that were booked into the jail and what their disposition was, whether they were released on their own or whether they ultimately went out on parole, or in the case of Joseph Grabel, where they died here while they were incarcerated. And as we open it up, we do find his information. It listed as Joseph or Joe Grabel. It talks about his offense, which is listed as insanity, but we know that he really wasn't insane, and it's sort of a tragic situation. And then, of course, we are fortunate enough to have a copy of his death certificate as well. But Joseph was a unique individual, and today we have things in place that would have caught what happened to him, which sort of makes this story extremely tragic. Joseph was a teacher, and from what we can gather from the news accounts, a very loved teacher. They had parent-teacher conferences one night. He participated in those, talking with parents of his students and trying to encourage them and help them out. He got home late, and when he got home, the front door for his house was standing open, which was a red flag for him. He ran in, and when he did, unfortunately, he found his wife and 4 children had been murdered. It was a home invasion, robbery gone wrong, and Joseph lost it. He got extremely upset. The neighbors heard what was going on. They called the police. The police came out. They found Joseph's wife, children, and him in the state that he was in. Fortunately for Joseph, he was never a suspect. They was able to document where he had been very quickly. Oddly enough, one of the investigators' children was one of the children who had parent-teacher conferences with Joseph. So there was never a question as to his innocence and the fact that he was not guilty. But they were worried that he was going to be a danger to himself, and they thought that he might try to hurt himself. So they committed him for a temporary committal in the Brooklyn Mental Institution. And fortunately or unfortunately, however you look at it, there was a breakout at the Brooklyn Mental Institution at the particular night that he was there, and about 20 people walked out of the front door. He was one of those people who walked out, and when he did, he got a car. We don't know if it was his car or someone else's car, but they put an all-points bulletin out on Joseph, and as he traveled south, we know that his mother and father had retired to Florida, and we assume that's where he was heading. The police picked him up right outside of Darlington and transported him to the city jail, which was on Cashville Street, right where our pad is at in that general area. Joseph tried to commit suicide that night, and they moved him to the county facility, which is here at the Historical Commission, the old jail, where they had an infirmary and medical care throughout the night. They took everything out of the infirmary cell except for the mattress, and they left Joseph there thinking he'd be safe for the night. Joseph obviously was quite industrious. Through the night, he took the binding cord out of the mattress, the part where the top of the mattress joins the sidewall. There's a banding strip that goes around. Inside that banding strip is a jute cord. He took that out, fashioned a noose, and put that around his neck and dropped it down in his shirt. When they went to move him the next morning, they were extraditing him back to New York. The guard opened the infirmary door. They brought him out. As he was standing there and the guard turned to lock the infirmary door, Joseph reached down, grabbed that cord that he'd fashioned the noose out of, dropped it over the top of the newel post, and he dove down our stairwell. Unfortunately, this particular time, Joseph was successful in his attempt to kill himself. And we know that Joseph Grabel died on the stairwell suspended between our 3rd floor and our 2nd floor here at the Historical Commission. We've had several accounts of folks as they go up the stairs. When they round that corner, getting to the top of the stairs leading to the 3rd floor, they'll often experience a little bit of heaviness on their chest, maybe something that's kind of holding them back on the stairwell a little bit. Nothing that's in any way frightening, but just the fact that you can tell that there's something that went on there that's a little odd.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to follow Brian up to the stairwell. So keep watching as we go to the stairwell. All right, so we are up here on the 3rd floor, right beside the stairwell where Joseph Grabel hung himself. And Brian was saying that Joseph Grabel hung himself from this exact piece of the pole right here. This is the original piece that was there. So I'm going to give it over to Brian and let him tell you a little bit more about how that happened in this area of the actual building.
We are on the 3rd floor landing, and it's a fairly unique place. This would have been where they did extended capacity storage so that they had an overview like did a race weekend or something like that. in what we call our grand gallery, which is the bulk of our collection. They would put mobile cells there and kind of reconfigure to hold an influx of inmates. Also, juvenile detention is to my right. To my left would be the infirmary. It's our photo room, and of course it's a steel room. Two doors, one in, one out. We know that they would have brought Joseph out of this particular door here. We know from the processes of the jail at the time that the guard would have had Joseph stand up here, would have directed him to go ahead and go down the stairs and wait at the bottom. We know that the way the configuration was, there was a cage at the bottom, so he could go nowhere but to that one cage. As the guard turned to lock the door here, we know that Joseph took the rope that he fashioned as the noose out of his shirt, dropped it over this newel post, and dove down the stairwell. And unfortunately, we know that he hung himself between second and third floor here.
And he literally was hanging right there.
Right there.
And it's so sad. Like, sometimes when you hear about the hanging ones, you hear about the hangings of people who were criminals or bad people.
Right.
But this is not the case with Joseph, you guys. He literally just was a guy that just had something tragic happen in his life and he couldn't take it anymore.
That's
And I
right.
think that's what makes his spirit being in this building just the saddest. Like, how could you possibly be afraid or upset about a spirit that is literally lingering here because before they even were lost as a soul, they were lost because they lost everything that they had. And I just think that is, I don't know, just heartening, really.
I agree. I can't imagine the desperation he felt and the sense of loneliness that he felt trying to get to what little bit of family he had left in Florida and having seen, everything that he really values, wife and his kids, just tragically lost. And then, of course, when he found himself in a situation where he's incarcerated, I could very easily see where he got to the point he just felt like there was no hope, no way out. And then the fact that, we still have that experience of encountering him today. One reason we've done so much research to identify who he is by name, where he's from, what happened to him, is that despite he had a tragic end, we think he still was a person of worth and value. And the fact that he deserves to be remembered, not just for the event that caused the end of his life, but for the things he did and the contributions he made to society while he was alive. So we've done a lot of research trying to piece together the narrative because we think Joseph's worthwhile. It's worthwhile to remember him.
So, not just the guy that hung himself here, but a teacher, a husband, a father.
That's right.
He was a person, a good person. He wasn't a murderer. He wasn't, a bad person. It's just a bad situation.
That's right.
Him.
And let me say, bear in mind, until this incident, he had no record whatsoever. Nothing as simple as a jaywalking ticket or a misdemeanor.
Yeah. And then you know what? And you think about that too, like a different world. Like if this had happened nowadays, Joseph would probably still be here. He would be getting the treatment and help that he needs, and he wouldn't forever be stuck in limbo, hanging out with not as cool as Brian is. I know you love him, Joseph.
He would not.
He would not be stuck here chilling out with Brian and Gandy at the Historical Commission.
That's right. Well, once again, welcome to the Historical Commission. We are the County Archive. We serve as the official repository for all governmental and biographical material relating to the county. And folks that typically come here and use our services are folks interested in genealogy, folks doing land research within the county, a lot of title searchers, lawyers and attorneys. Those folks come in and write a good bit. And then just general citizens who have interest in certain aspects of county history. With the files that we've got, they can come in. We've got over 1 million photographs in the building, so a lot of folks that are interested in the way things were, they can come in and see now versus then, which is a wonderful comparison. We are excited that we're going to be building a multi-million-dollar museum here in the next couple of months. Hopefully by January that will start, and we'll be able to pull artifacts out of the files and be able to have them on display. And one thing that's going to be very unique about our museum, you go to a lot of museums across the state and you sort of go through, you see the exhibits, you gain knowledge and you gain interest in things, but you really never have a place you can go that specifically has background material on the artifacts you saw. A lot of those museums, they have the artifact, but none of the background material. In the museum that we're building in Darlington County, here in the city of Darlington, You'll be able to tour our exhibit gallery, gain interest and a hunger for more information, go right upstairs to the research room, and we can pull you original material that'll relate back to those original artifacts.
Wow.
So you can get the teaser in the museum and then the continuation of the story in the research room. So we're really excited about that opportunity.
That's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you'll be able to go into a museum and find something that you think is really cool, and then find out more about it right there.
That's right. And of course, with the collection that we've got, tens of thousands of original letters, biographical material in schools, churches, homes, cemetery information, businesses. We maintain files on all the merchants, and some of those merchants go back as early as the 1750s. So, very vast collection, and we're excited that we're going to be able to make a lot more of it public so that folks can actually interact with their material. Because it's not my history, it's not your history, it's all of our history.
That's
Yes.
right. That's right. So that's definitely going to be something cool. And so I know you were saying earlier that the information that you hold here isn't just for people who are from Darlington
That's
County.
right. That's right.
There are people who lived here who aren't even here anymore,
That's
or
right.
their families aren't even here
That's
anymore.
right.
So just because you're not living currently in Darlington or Darlington County doesn't mean that there's not a world of information about your family probably around here
That's
too.
right. We actually do a lot of research opportunities and research requests for folks that are outside of South Carolina. If you look at how the backcountry and how we settled this country, we're on that corridor of settlement, and we were at a very strategic stopping point. So folks that come down from up north would come here. They'd waylay for a couple of years, maybe work, build a little money, and then they do that southwestern migration and head across. So we have a lot of folks who you won't find them anywhere else other than where their journey started. You'll find them here in Darlington County, and then maybe in that southwest migration, which happened. We know there were like 3 major events in our history where folks kind of did that downward, southward, and westward. And we're fortunate that we were sort of on that travel path for those folks. And of course, this particular area being unique, we were the 13th backcountry settlement that Governor Johnston created. And oddly enough, we're the only one of those backcountry settlements that still has a functioning town or village in the area that was created. And of course, that being Society Hill.
Right.
So with that having been said, we've had a lot of migration coming through this area. And we had a lot of folks who come in doing research on that and contact us.
Now, would that have been down the PD River
It-
into the St. David's Parish? Is that what it was called?
Well, back then it would have been called Frederick's Parish,
Okay.
and it shifted along, but it ultimately became St. David's.
Okay.
Of course, named for the patron saint for the Welsh, which of course were those original settlers.
Right.
And we know that it was 22 individuals that came 1736 in November. They took possession of about 178,000 acres of land, 8 miles on either side of the PD River, from just south of the North Carolina state line all the way down to present Francis Marion. So we would have been in the heart of that swath of property. And literally you had to be of Welsh descent to be in that group of settlers that were granted land. That held for 10 years, and then after that 10-year moratorium was lifted, one of the exhibit pieces we'll have in our new museum is we've got the very first land grant that was given to a non-Welsh settler, and it was in April of 1747. So we're excited to have that and be able to put that out there for folks to look at it and enjoy it.
That sounds like there's gonna be a lot of really cool stuff here.
Yes, I can't wait.
I can't wait to come back.
We're
So
hoping.
maybe Michelle and I will come back, and
Definitely.
Brian will do another ghost story with us after
I feel
that
like
has.
there's
yeah.
a lot more stories here.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes.
They get
yes.
to moving things around in here. They're definitely gonna stir somebody up.
That's
Yes.
right. That's right. We'll tell you the story when it happens.
That's right. And I was going to get you to tell us before we go a little bit about your tour that's coming up.
Yes.
So you guys will know about this tour
Yes.
that's coming up, and
Yes.
you will definitely see me and Michelle on this tour.
Yes.
We won't be a part of it. We're going to be watching with you guys.
And listen, it's you. We're planning something exciting for the city of Darlington. We're wanting to do a Shadows of the Past tour. We're going to do that in October. Most of it will be outside. It'll be candle or lantern lit, so it'll be a walking tour. We'll travel about a quarter to half of a mile. It'll center around the courthouse square and 2 side streets. We'll begin at the Historical Commission and end at the Historical Commission. And it's not really a ghost, ghoul, and goblin type tour, but it's really a shadows of our past that sort of impacted people. So we'll talk about tragic deaths on the square. We'll talk about hangings in the courthouse, the old courthouse jail. Beside the one we're in. We'll talk about Joseph Grabel that was in this building. We'll talk about desecrated and damaged cemeteries and the trouble that has caused and the miscellaneous tombstones we've got behind our building. And then, of course, we'll talk about a couple of destructive fires that caused some loss of life around the courthouse square and some things like that. So it'll be pretty interesting. It's all factual based and historically sourced. So you'll learn a little bit. You'll hopefully have a little bit of goosebumps, and maybe by the end of it, you might even be scared a little bit. We'll see.
Yeah, I have to look for that.
I think we got a sample of that today.
Totally.
Trust me, if you come, you will not be disappointed.
Definitely not. Definitely not. I think if anything, coming here today got me even more excited about coming back and hearing all that. So I implore, and Michelle, you guys have to come out to that. Totally. And maybe you'll run into us while you're out there and get to meet Brian too.
Very good.
So hope you guys enjoyed this walkabout Darlington with the commission director, Brian Gandy. If you ever have any questions or you want to look into some of your genealogy and stuff like that, please stop by here when it opens back up and check it out and come see Brian. Hope you guys have an amazing weekend and we'll see you later.
See you
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Brian Gandy, the historian and director for the Darlington County Historical Commission, is a native of Darlington County and resides in the Antioch community of Hartsville. He is the son of Tim and Doris Gandy, Doris being the former historian for the Darlington County Historical Commission. Prior to joining the commission, Brian spent the last 15 years as the operations manager for Walmart. During this time, he has also been very active in the historical circles around Darlington County. He has served as both treasurer and president for the Darlington County Historical Society and moderated the Society's Today in History daily Facebook post. Brian also maintains regular speaking engagements throughout the county covering historical topics and genealogy. He is noted for his extensive collection of historical photographs of Darlington County and the past 2 historical calendars that he researched and published for the Society. Brian is currently serving as a chancellor for the University of South Carolinian Society, term ending 2021. His undergraduate work was done at Francis Marion University with graduate studies at Gardner-Webb University.